Hi, it's Kevin May, the Editor-in-Chief of PhocusWire. I'm joined here by Jonne De Leeuw.
That's correct.
Principal at HPE Growth Capital. So it's a fairly interesting sector that you've taken an interest in.
Absolutely.
Tours and activities in particular.
Yeah.
You've invested...
And attractions.
And attractions, of course, yes. We mustn't forget attractions. But you've now invested twice in tickets.
Yeah.
A sizable round, doubled their total investment the other day.
Yeah.
What is it that's attracted you to this particular part of the industry rather than, say, some of the other elements?
First of all, it's a very high margin business, right? If you compare it to hotels, cars, and flights, intake rates are well over 20% in this industry, which makes it attractive. Of course, the market is incredibly large and is still highly fragmented. So yeah, that sort of smells like opportunity. And of course, then you need to find the right platform. And I think we found it in tickets.
So what is it about tickets that has attracted you rather than, say, some of their other equally well-funded competitors?
No, much better funded, or at least not better, but at least they've attracted more capital in the space, I would say. And I think it's either you go big, you go niche, or you go home. And I think what the guys at Tickets have done very well is they went niche, they focused on attractions. It's actually where all the volume sits, or the vast majority of the volume in destination travel, I would say. And they've done that very well, and they've just been connecting directly to all of the major venues, and by doing that, they've been able to create a wonderful product. I think over 50% of people that work at Tickets are techies or product people, and they've just been so laser focused at that now you can, like if you look at the reviews on Trustpilot or so, I think over 15,000 reviews by now, and it's a 9.4 even. It continues to grow instead of declining as a business skill. So I think that's a testament to what they've built.
Yeah, okay. So I'm getting somewhere with this question, so I'm going to split it into a couple of parts. I mean, some would argue, why have they had to raise again fairly quickly since the last one that you were also involved in?
It was May 2017.
Yeah, so 18 months. Yeah. And they've doubled their investment, or total investment they've had to date, as we said. Is it a marketing challenge now for them because they're a consumer-facing business that they need to raise a lot of money again?
Well, they didn't need to raise a lot of money.
Right.
I think timing was right, and you should raise capital while you can, and they could. So it's more also of an insurance premium because they still had money in the bank from the last round that we did with them, because they're actually quite capital efficient in how they go about it. But of course, if you want to have feet on the ground, connect supply, right? I think they're now connected to roughly 2,000 venues. They want to hit the 10,000 mark. You need to go fast, and now is the time to get in. Like these suppliers or these venues, they will work with 3, 5, maybe 7 different suppliers. So if you're not in now, you're probably never going to get in unless you have some sort of very special angle. And given that the moment is now, we decided to give them quite enough money to actually do it.
So it's like a bit of a boost to get you over the line maybe a little bit quicker?
So indeed, and at the same time, technology is crucial in this industry, and it works on both ends, right? So you need to have the right technology to connect to your supply and be really a value-added partner in what you do, because it's becoming more and more commoditized. So you need to have WeChat, you need to have different languages, payment methods, mobile connectivity, last minute, like that's also very important for the supply. And at the same time, you need to have a best-in-class product for the users. And I think especially on that side, like staying ahead of the curve, staying ahead of a booking, or like larger incumbents that are also trying to do it themselves in-house, it requires investment in technology too. Okay, so
the marketing challenge is there, and some might say it's got more acute or more difficult because of the entry or indeed focus of some of their other competitors. And I mean, people like Booking.com, who a year ago didn't really consider experiences to be perhaps as important as they do now, a fellow Dutch company, right?
Well, so they were building it.
There was a much more of a lukewarm kind of approach to it. They were going city by city, and it was very CRM based after you'd booked your hotel. Yeah. But now they've bought a software company and they're going to go for it. Yeah. And we know that they spend a lot of money on marketing of Booking Holdings.
Absolutely.
Multi-billion dollars. So what does that mean just for, not just tickets, but for anyone who's trying to enter the space now and suddenly gone, they're involved now as well, right?
Sure, it's becoming a challenge, but it's the same in every industry. And I think you have to be really smart about what you do with your channels and with the customers that you acquire. Let's say you acquire a customer through Google. You need to be able to retain that customer, upsell that customer. And I think the segment that Tickets is in, the museum and let's say the attraction space, is actually quite an interesting space, because that is something that you do when you're back home. You would take your wife to a museum, you would take your kids to a theme park, also when you're back home. So then hopefully if you had a good experience while you were in your destination, you would then come back as a customer and then use it in your hometown.
You referenced it earlier. I mean, Tickets did go for a different approach to the Get Your Guides and the Klooks of this world by only focusing on the main attraction. So they haven't gone for the long tail, which many others seem to be. Okay, let's just get everything.
Yeah.
It's all about supply. Let's claim that we've got 100,000 different tours, whereas Tickets is saying we only want the Louvre and we want the Eiffel Tower and we want the Rijksmuseum and stuff like that. So that's a different approach. Is that perhaps maybe
it's a more difficult approach, I think, because the long tail is really looking for distribution channels, right? And if you can offer distribution, boom, they'll connect with you. But once you have those large venues, you can drive the long tail as well in the end. Not that that's currently on the roadmap for Tickets, but I think in a few years from now, if you want to stay independent, you need to go there.
Okay. A fellow person in the financial part of the industry said to us recently, Christian Saller from Holdsbury. You know, many people know Christian from his kayak days and now in his money days. He said, and he wasn't talking specifically about tours and activities, he was talking generally about the venture capital world and travel. He was saying a lot of VCs now won't get into investments where Google is going to end up being the main competitor.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
You have to be very aware of Google.
Yeah,
absolutely. It can be the evil empire, but they're making so much money off this industry that you can really wonder whether they're actually going to become a true competitor. You never know.
Well, I mean,
it's Google.
They are another one
on the flight side, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
But they are another brand that's entered tours and activities this year through the Touring Bird thing, which is just a test, as they keep saying at the moment, or it's an app and it's not part of Google's ecosystem. But it probably will be if they can make a success of it. So all of a sudden, Tickets has got another competitor, which is arguably even bigger than Klook and Get Your Guide.
Yeah, actually, Tickets is now partnering with them on Google Reserve.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy a ticket on for example for the MoMA, you Google MoMA, and on the right hand side you see the opening hour, but also buy a ticket now, and then you can see Powered by Tickets. But you can either fight it or you can just go along with what Google is doing and stay in front. So
you're in the not the waving the white flag camp. You're in the slightly more aggressive that you can either work with them or stay in front of them camp, are you?
Stay in front of the rest. I think it's hard to stay in front of Google. But if you
that's
work,
a fair point.
If
of course.
If you work closely with Google, then you can definitely you're much more aware of their agenda and can adapt to that. And at the moment, it's just a very nice new channel for Tickets, and it's also something that is helping them to get into supply, because the supply is like, hey, that's an interesting channel. We can't do that ourselves, but you guys have been working on that with Google for about a year, so why don't you bring us online and we'll give you a lot more tickets through your regular B2C platform.
Okay, Jonne, just some general advice as a VC. If you may well get approached by lots of startups here this week. I suspect you probably will. Now, certainly now that you've been on stage as well. I mean, what do you say to a startup that's thinking about getting into tours and activities? What should they do to get buttoned up before you would even consider looking at them and to invest in them?
Well, they need to find a real problem.
Yeah,
right? A real problem to solve. They need to show that they have the technology to actually grow very fast, and that they have the team to actually execute. And that all sounds a bit vague, I think, but if you can find, it's true, right? But if you can find that one problem and solve it really well, probably through technology, then you will come to the surface and you'll be noticed.
Do you get approached by lots of startups in tours and activities on the back of your investments so far in Tickets?
Absolutely, and the only thing is we're a bit sort of a later stage VC,
right,
from the European perspective. So startups, like we invest more in scale-ups, but definitely there are plenty out there.
Yeah. Okay. And just overall, I mean, let's just look ahead 2 or 3 years. You know, you've made your double investment in tickets, and as you said, probably getting approached by lots of people now.
Yeah.
Where do you think this all kind of shakes out? You know, we've had the entry of Booking.com this year. We've referenced Google. TripAdvisor has bought into Boken, and Expedia is being Expedia and carrying on doing what it's doing. Where does it all go for a couple of years from here? Do you just forecast, not with your VC hat on, just with your knowing quite a lot about how it all works?
I think ultimately the larger OTAs as we know them today will push hard for this space, right? Given that the margins are high, the growth is incredible, the market is large. Look at the stock price of TripAdvisor or Expedia. It's nowadays largely driven by what they're doing on the in-destination piece.
Yep.
So they're going to make a big push. They're either going to buy, build, or a combination of both. And I think if for some very well-funded competitors, I think they can build something similar in the same space, in the tours and activity space. But then if you break up the tours and activity space, there's tours, activities, attractions, and I think some of the more niche players can actually, they have a future for them, right? If you see that on the tour side.
Yeah.
Quite some interesting businesses that raise a lot of capital that are doing quite well. Same goes for the activities and the attraction side.
Yeah.
So on the overarching market, I think it's going to be hard to compete with the larger incumbents. But if you cluster the market, then there's definitely room for independent players.
Okay. Jonne De Leeuw, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.